All right, everybody. So welcome to week 5, JavaScript Code Your First Game. So for today's lesson, we're going to be going over how to add and control audio with JavaScript. And then we're going to touch on writing HTML and CSS within the JavaScript file. And I'll kind of go over, why that's important and how that's convenient. But first, all right, so the first thing we're going to go over is the audio. So basically adding background music and sound effects to the website. So if you remember from the final project example that I provided with the Super Mario one, the background music cued once you open up the site, or I'm sorry, I think it was once you press the button to start the game. And what happens is it loops. So when that song ends, it just restarts. And then also, if I were to click on the mole, it would give the coin sound. And if I clicked on Mario or Peach, it would error out. It would give an error sound. And those are all the sound effects. And that's the kind of thing that you're going to be adding in your final project. So to do this, to add audio on your website, you need to write the HTML and JavaScript code for it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go into your HTML file and then write the HTML code by using the audio tag, as you can see here in the code snippet that I provided. So what I did here is you're going to have an opening tag and a closing tag for audio. And then what I did here in this specific code snippet is I gave this audio tag an ID. So this is taken directly from the Super Mario project. So this specifically is a sound effect for the coin. So that's what the SMW stands for. It's just Super Mario World Coin. And I gave it an ID because I'm going to be accessing this audio in my JavaScript and then manipulating it or controlling it, basically. And then, of course, within the audio tag, you want to give it a source. So you have to write out source and then src. And then equals, and then give the path of your audio file. So similar to what you do with your images, if you remember, we created a separate folder. We named it, IMG or images, and then we stored all of our image files in there. And that's pretty much what we're going to do for the audio. So we're going to create a separate folder. We're going to name it something like audio, whatever makes the most sense to you, whatever makes it easier for you to organize your data. But what I did for this example is I created the folder, named it audio, and then that's where I stored my my audio file, and it's called smw_coin .wave. Don't forget to add the file type. And speaking of type, that's a perfect segue to go into the next section, is type. So you want to write out type and then set it equal to the type that it is. So this one just so happens to be a wave file. So I just put in audio / wave. And it's going to be different for different types of files. So for example, if you had an MP3 file, instead of wave, you're actually going to write MPEG. So MPEG. And then don't forget the audio tag at the end. Anybody have any questions? Annabelle?
So if you're going to put the audio into your final project, how would you save that song or sound?
So to save the sound, what I normally do, especially with this project specifically, is I got them directly from the internet. So there's a lot of free sound effects and music that you can find. If you just go on Google and type in, like I think for this, I just typed in Super Mario theme, free download. And what I did is I downloaded it directly to my computer. After I had it downloaded, just like images, I open up my Replit account, my audio file, and I just drag and drop it. And then it automatically uploads it to your folder. And then from there, you should be able to use it. All right. Any other questions? All right. Let's go ahead and let's continue. All right, so let's go over some audio methods. How are we going to control the audio? There's all sorts of things that all sorts of methods that you can use. I just limited them to the basics and what you're going to need for the final project. So here's some of the methods that you can use to control the audio. You have play, pause, and volume. Now, play, that's what we're going to use to start the music when you open up the site or press the button to start, things like that. If for whatever reason you needed to pause the music, then you would just use pause. And then I added volume in there because sometimes when you download your theme music or your sound effects, sometimes they're too loud or not loud enough. And every now and then you're going to have to adjust the volume. So if you look at this code snippet that I provided here, I created a function and I called it start theme music. So basically what the function is doing, it's doing one task. It's starting the theme music when when the site opens or the user interacts with the site and presses a button, things like that. Now, the audio, when I embedded it, I gave it an ID of Mario theme. That's what I called it. So what I'm doing here in this function is I'm creating a variable. I'm calling it theme music, following camel case convention. And then I'm manipulating the DOM, or the document object model, using document dot get element by ID Mario theme. So I'm grabbing a hold of this Mario theme audio and basically using it as theme music. So now that I have this variable, what I can use is called dot notation to access these audio methods. So what I'm doing in this line is accessing the volume of the theme music. I'm doing theme music dot volume equals 0.2. And what that means is I'm playing it at 20% of the actual volume. So when I downloaded this Mario theme, it was very loud. So I had to lower it a little bit. And I said, okay, let's just play it 20% of its full volume. That way it's lower in sound. And then of course, lastly, we have to play the audio. So very self-explanatory. It's very high level, human readable, theme music dot play. And don't forget the enclosed parentheses as well. So left parentheses, right parentheses. And actually, here's a good example of using an MP3 file. So because this is an MP3, of course, when I wrote out the source, I wrote audio Mario theme .mp3. And then for the type, notice it's not audio /wave. It's actually audio MPEG. And then that's how you're going to use the audio methods. Anybody have any questions?
Mr.
Paul?
Ramirez,
Yeah.
sorry, sorry about that.
No
So
worries.
what if you want to loop the music, since I'm just gonna have like a beat and like beats in the background, and then like it just looping around while I'm just having I'm just having a audio clip that will just be looping in the background. So like, how do you loop it? How do you like loop the audio file?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So it's super simple. So in your HTML file, when you're writing out when you're embedding your audio, do you see how I have this word here that says loop? That's all you have to do, and it's going to loop the audio file over and over until you exit the website. All right. Any other questions? Annabelle?
I was just wondering if you could get your audio from YouTube or any other site, or would you have to always download it? Or is there a way to download it from there?
From YouTube, yeah, I think there's some generators out there where you can actually grab the MP3 or the MP3 from the YouTube videos, but you would have to, I don't know. I haven't done that personally, but there might be some services out there that allow you to do that. It's just a matter of Googling and researching it. But there's a lot of websites out there that actually just let you download. If there's something specific that you want, I would just Google it. For this, like I said, I just did Mario theme free download, and it pops up for you. So there's all sorts of data out there, free data that is accessible. Just a matter of researching it. But the YouTube videos, yeah, I'm not too sure about that. All right. Any other questions before we move on? All right, let's continue. Okay, so writing HTML and CSS in JavaScript. So as you may know, you can write HTML and CSS code in the JavaScript file. I've been doing that throughout the entire course. I think I did it on the very first demo with the square that changes colors. So every now and then you've been seeing it, but I wanted to take the time to just explain it a little bit more. So what it does is it provides more flexibility when writing HTML and CSS, and it's very convenient for controlling HTML elements like images on a web page based on what the user's doing on your site, whether they're pressing a button or writing in text, things like that. So for example, like one way where we wrote CSS in the JavaScript file is in the very first demo when we created that. If you remember, when we created that square that changed colors every time you clicked on it, what we were doing there is we were actually writing, we were using the RGB scale to write CSS in JavaScript to basically say, using an event listener, every time the user clicks on that square, then change the color according to whatever RGB scale you provide. Some ways that you can write HTML in your JavaScript file is this very first code snippet here that says document.write. And then in double quotations, you're going to basically write the HTML code. So that's what I did here is I created I used an H1 tag to create a basic header that says OrangeNote JavaScript course. And when you write that and you run your program, it'll show up on your website. And then I also did a little bit of styling as well, so CSS styling. So I basically said that I wanted this header to be gold. So to change the color of the header, all I did is I typed color, colon, and then gave the name of the color. So in this case, I put gold and then a semicolon after. But note that within, or color and gold is encapsulated within single quotations. And the reason why I had to use single quotations is because the entire HTML code is already written in double quotations. So if I were to write this, if I were to, instead of single quotations, put double quotations, what would happen is the program would get confused. It would think that I'm trying to use string concatenation. So what it actually do is it would separate all the way from the end of this angle bracket, H1, all the way to style equals. It would cut that off and store it as a separate string. And that's not what we want, right? We want to write CSS code within the JavaScript file, but within the HTML code. So the single quotations, it tells JavaScript, hey, this is CSS. I'm wanting to change the color of the H1 header and make it gold. All right. So let's see what we got next here. So yeah, here's another snippet of code here. And what I'm doing is I'm grabbing these images. So again, this is from the final project. So I have my images of Mario, Peach, and the mole, and I'm storing them. And I'm storing them in what? Anybody remember? I'm storing them. I'm using square brackets. Paul Minnow, do you remember? What are we?
In the arrays.
Yes, in the array. Nice job. So I'm storing the images in an array to access them later. So I'm creating my variable using the DOM, so document.getElementById. And then this image one, that's just an image that I named in the HTML code. And then I'm using .innerHTML because I want to change the images that show up on the website. And then I'm using this code here, which you guys have seen before. So I wanted to kind of, talk about that a little bit, because looking at this, it gets very confusing with all the quotes and the double quotes and the plus signs. So I have it blown up here. So let's take a look at it. So we're writing an image, or we're accessing an image, and we're using HTML code to make that image show up on the website. So basically, what I'm saying here is I'm creating a variable image1, and then within it, I'm storing the HTML code that I want to show up on the website when the user interacts with it. So I have the image img, and then I have the source. And then here, I'm accessing cartoon images. That is the array that I provided, the array of images. And then in this case, I'm accessing num1, but don't worry about that right now. We'll go more into depth about that. But I'm just accessing a specific array element. Now, let's talk about the quotes and the double quotes. So in this part, what we're using is string concatenation, right? Because we have the plus signs, we have the double quotations. So that makes sense, right? So imagine if I were to take away the red single quotes, imagine those aren't there. So you take those away, and then you look at this, right? It actually makes a lot of sense. So I'm using double quotations to separate the angle bracket, the IMG, the SRC, and the equals. And then I'm using the plus sign, I'm concatenating it with cartoon images, the array element, and then another plus sign, and then I'm concatenating it with the / and the angle bracket. So that's all I'm doing is I'm writing HTML code and I'm concatenating it together to form an actual HTML line of code. So the reason why, or the reason why you're going to want to use these single quotations is when you're accessing a variable within your JavaScript file. And so that's what I'm doing here, right? Is I'm accessing the array of cartoon images. And because this is a JavaScript variable, you kind of have to tell the code that, that's what that is. And to do it, you just use the single quotations, and they go right after the equal sign, and then right after the trailing double quotes. And that's why I gave them different colors, just so it's easier to see. So the single quotes, they're encapsulating the entire variable, and then the double quotations. And then that's how you tell your program that this variable is your JavaScript code. So hopefully that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So yeah, and yeah, I also gave this other code snippet here just to show another situation that this has been used in. So in the final project that I created, when the user clicks on the mole, I want something to happen, right? I want it to create the sound effect, the coin sound effect, and then I also want it to reward the user with 10 points. So add 10 points to the total score. So to do that, what I'm using is conditionals, right? So I'm using an if statement, and I'm basically saying if the image that is clicked equals the mole. So that's what I'm saying. If the user clicked on the mole, and to do that, I have to use the HTML code to basically find out if the user clicked on it. So if image clicked is equal to the mole, then do something. So I didn't show that code here, but down here it'll say something like if the image clicked equals the mole, then play the coin sound effect, and also add 10 points to the total score. So that's what would be below this code within the if statement. Any questions on that? All right. Let's move forward. Oh yeah, and then also note the single quotes and the double quotes. So I did this a little differently in case anybody uses single quotes or double quotes. So as you may see, this one here, or I don't know if you guys can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor where it's moving? Okay. So up here in the code snippet, this actually uses single quotes, right? It starts with single quotes, and then this one starts with double quotes. I'm a double quote person, so if you use double quotes, this is how you're going to do it down here, the bigger text. If you're a single quote person, you're going to want to follow this code snippet up here that starts with the single quote. So down here in this instance, the entire HTML code is encapsulated within single quotes, and then the source is written within double quotes. All right. So with that, let's move forward. Okay, so it's demo time. This demo is going to help you get started on the final project. So let's go ahead and take a break. After you guys get back, we'll go ahead and get started on the demo. So let's get back here at 5:43. So I'm going to open up Replit. And create a new project. Right, so my REPLs stored in the OrangeNote folder, JavaScript. And let's create the REPL here. HTML, of course. And I'm just going to call this final project demo. And it's already 5:47, so I'm gonna move a little bit of a faster pace. That way, you guys can see all of the code. But if you do have any questions, feel free to to jump in and interrupt me. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is let's change the title. I'm going to call this project. Well, yeah, final project demo. All right, so first thing I'm going to want to do, we can just knock out the easy stuff, right? So let's go ahead and let's head over to our CSS. And what I want to do is I tend to like monospace as a font, so I want everything on the website to be monospace. It's really up to you, whatever you like. So of course, font family, and I'm just going to say monospace. And then on top of that, I also like to create a class for centering things, because I find that I do that a lot when I'm creating projects. So what I'll do is dot center, and then within, I'm just going to type in text align, and then center. That way I can just, use that on a as need basis. And then let's go ahead and let's take care of the background image. But before I do that, I'm going to need my data, my images. So let's go ahead and let's add a folder, and I'm going to call it img for images. That's where I'm going to store everything. And from here, I'm going to grab my my 3 images. So again, this is going to be like a whack-a-mole game. So I'm going to have 3 images that are going to flip around, and then the background image. So I already have them here pre-made. And then for this one, I'm going to do a Pokemon theme, because I like Pokemon. So I'm going to drag that into the image folder. Actually, I think I'm missing one. Yeah, Psyduck got left out. So let me grab Psyduck. All right, so let's continue. So I have this image here. It's called Pokemon BG. That just stands for background. So let's go ahead and let's add that image. So I wanted to take up the entire body. So I'm going to type in body. Within the curly brackets, we're going to use background, background image. And then we're going to use URL to grab that, that image. And of course, you're going to use the file hierarchy within double quotes or single quotes, whichever one you use. IMG is the name of the folder. And then I called it Pokemon BG, like that. Except I think I'm missing the file type. So dot JPEG, like that. All right, let's go ahead and let's just run that. Let's make sure that we're on track. Oops. I'm not seeing anything yet. Maybe I messed up somewhere. Background image URL, IMG, Pokemon theme. And if you guys see a mistake or an error that I did, feel free to just, let me know. Pokemon BG .jpeg. Yeah, I think that looks correct to me, but let's continue with the HTML. So we have our script.js within the body, and we also have our style.css. Okay, that's good. So we have the CSS there, and it's called style and script. All right, perfect. Let me just make sure that this image, okay, yeah, that image is there. All right. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to show you is one of the main things is how to get those images side by side in the same row, right? So for writing the HTML for that, you're gonna wanna use a table. So you think of the structure and how the images are placed. It's actually using a table. So that's what I wanted to show you here. So let's go ahead and let's do that. All right, so to do a table, it's just the table keyword. And then I also want the images to be centered, and that's why I created the center class. So I'm going to access it that way. All right, just like that. And then of course, you're gonna also want the closing tag like that. And within the table, tags, you also want to grab the table body, and what that is just t body, just like that. And this one also has a closing tag, so don't forget to add the closing tag as well. And then now we have to create a table row, and to do that, it's just tr. So tr like that, and then we can even give this an ID if you wanted. So I'll just call that table row, and then let's add the closing tag. Right, so this is, it's very nested, a lot of nested elements here. So that's why I wanted to show you guys this. So after you have the table row, what you want to do now is you want to add basically table data elements. So basically, you want to create slots for each image. So in this demo, we're going to be doing 3. So to do that, you're going to use TD like that. And then that one's also going to have a closing tag. And then within the TD element, you're going to want to use the A element like this. And then you're also going to use href to basically make the image clickable, right? It's going to be a link, basically. So when the user clicks on the image, something should happen. So that's what we're going to do here. And I'm going to call this, if I were going left to right, I'm just going to call this slot 1, like that. And then href. And then I'm just going to set this equal to, I don't want it to say anything, right? Because the link is, the clickable picture is just going to be the picture. So I'm just going to put a hashtag there for now, and then close that up. And now let's add the span tag. So, the area for the image to be located. And I'll give this an ID. I'm just going to call it image 1. And now what we want to do is close that up and let's see, what am I missing here? I think I'm missing the closing span tag like that. Sorry guys, my computer's running a bit slow. And oh, the A tag. So let's also add the closing A tag. All right, so I'm gonna want 3 of these, right? This is for one image. Now I want space for the other 2 images. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna copy and paste like that, and then make the edits where necessary. So this is going to be slot 2. This is slot 3. And then I'm going to call this one image 2, and then this one image 3, like that. So now that I have the table for my images to be located, while we're at it, let's go ahead and because we talked about the audio today, I just want to show you the audio real quick. So to create the audio, just like images, I'm going to create another folder, and then I'm just going to call it audio. And I had so I have my MP3 here, Pokemon theme. So all I'm going to do is drag it into the audio folder, and then as you can see, it's going to automatically upload. Right, so now that it's here uploaded, now we can use it in our program. But first I have to write the HTML code for it. So to do that, I'm just going to put it right below the table element, and let's go ahead and let's put it right here. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is create the audio HTML tag and then the closing tag like that. Now I'm going to have to give this an ID because I want to be able to use it and control it in my JavaScript file. So I'll just call this Pokemon theme music. Something, something like that. Now within the audio, I'm going to add the source. So where is the file? And I'm going to use source src, and it's equal to, well, we stored it in audio, and then I called it Pokemon theme like that .mp3, and enclose that in double quotes. And then now I just want to give the type, and that's, you're just going to use the keyword type, and then set it equal to in double quotes audio /mpeg, just like that. And that's all there is to it on the HTML side. So I have my audio here. So now I'm going to, let's head over to the JavaScript, and let's start writing some JavaScript code. Now, I'm going to create a function. Let's see if we can get those images to show up. I'm going to create a function, and then I'm going to create my my array of images. So I'm going to say Pokemon images, and then I'm going to set it equal to the array, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put these all in here. And then let's see, we have a Psyduck and a Pokemon, or Pokeball, just like that. And now let's go ahead and let's use the DOM to add those images to the website. So I'm going to use variables for that. I'm going to call this image1, and then use document.getElement by ID. And then if you remember, we actually named it image1 in our HTML file. That's the ID that we provided. Now we want to use inner HTML to get that image to show on the website. And then here is where we're going to write some HTML code to grab the image. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. So we have the double quotes, and then we're going to write angle bracket image, and then we have to give it a source. So I'm going to say source is equal to, and then here's where I'm going to use my single quote and then my double quotes again. And then I'm just going to put a plus sign for string concatenation. And then I'm going to type in Pokemon images. And for this one, let's access Pikachu. So if you remember, arrays, they start with 0. So Pikachu is in the element 0, Psyduck is in the element 1, and Pokeball is in the element 2. So if I wanted to access Pikachu, I would say Pokemon images 0, like that. Now let's go ahead and let's finish the rest. So I'm going to use the plus sign, double quotations again, single quotations, and then we're going to finish off the HTML code with the / and the angle bracket, and then the double quotes followed by the semicolon. And then now I'm just going to copy that and then make the edits where necessary for the image, for the rest of the images. So this one, I want to access image 2. And in this case, it's going to be Psyduck. So I'm going to put 1. And then image 3. And then for the Pokemon images or the Pokeball, that's going to be element 2, like that. Right. So now I'm using HTML to grab the images, and basically I want to store them in a side-by-side fashion. So let's see what we have here. Unexpected token JavaScript at 1. Oh, so yeah, forgot that. And function statements require a function. Let's see, what am I doing here? Oh, yeah, I didn't give it a name. Display images, something like that, I think is valid. All right. Looks like I'm running into some technical difficulties here. All right, it doesn't look, for whatever reason, it's not running on my side, but this is the code that you're going to want to use for the to create the table. So I just wanted to show you that. That's probably the most difficult part in the HTML code. And then I also wanted to show you the audio. So yeah, I'm not sure why it's not showing up on my side, but what I'm going to do is I'll take a look at this code after class and get it working. And then I'll post the code that I have. If I find the mistakes and then fix them, I'll post the code to Google Classroom for you to reference. That way you have it. All right, is that okay with everybody? Hey guys, so I just want to show you the rest of the demo. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And let's open up the code here. So there's some good learning lessons in this demo here. So when you're trying to access an image, you want to make sure that when you're typing out the file hierarchy of where the file is stored, you want to type it out exactly as the file is named, including the file type. So as you can see here in my images for the Pokemon background, it's actually a JPEG. So that's JPEG. Now, if you look at the code here, I have JPG. So if I were to just add an E there, JPEG, and click run, you're going to see the background show up. And that's what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and let's get the images popping up. So the Pikachu, the Pokeball, and the Psyduck. So let's head over to our script.js file. And here in this example, we don't want to use a function quite yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this function here. And if I do that, you'll see that the images pop up, and that's what we're looking for. So it's in a table-like form. Each image is side by side in its own row. And once we have this framework down for the images, that's when we can start coding set interval, things like that to make the images flip around, and then we'd add that code within the set interval function. All right, guys, and now let's go over the audio. So what we're going to want to do is play some audio when we click on a button. And that's what you're going to do for the final project as well. So once you click the button to start the game, then the music should start. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to share my screen here. And let's open up the code. So first thing we're going to want to do, let's go ahead and let's just add a button that's going to trigger the audio. So we're going to write button, write the closing tag for it, and then let's go ahead and let's just give this an ID. For now, I'll just call it button. And then what I'm going to want to do is, because I want the music to play once I press that button, then I'm going to say on click. And we'll come back to this later, but what I'm going to put in here is a function name. And that function is going to be the function that starts the music. So let's go ahead and let's head over to our JavaScript file and let's add that function. So I'm going to use the function keyword, and let's give it a name that's human readable. So if somebody were to look at your code, they would understand what the function does. So I'm just going to say play. I'll just say play music for now. And what I'm going to want to do is grab the audio that we embedded in the HTML and store it in a constant. And remember, that's the const keyword, C-O-N-S-T. And now what I'm going to want to do is give this a name. I'm just going to call it theme music for now. And then we're going to want to use the DOM, so the document object model, dot get element by ID. And then here's where I'm going to store the name of the audio. And I think we called it, we called it Pokemon theme music. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to copy that and then paste it in the get element by ID method, like that. And then after I do that, I'm just going to put a semicolon and then use the play method to actually play the theme music. And that's going to be done using dot notation. So theme music dot play, just like that. And now that I got my function here, now I can go back to my button in my HTML file, and I'm going to grab this play music with the parentheses. And I'm going to put that in double quotes for on click. And then let's make this button a little bit bigger. That way you can actually see it on the website. So I think we call this just button. So I'm going to do that. And then let's give it a width of, I don't know, we can make it, let's just make it 50 pixels. 50 pixels, and then the height, let's make it 30 pixels, just enough so we can see it. So let's go ahead and let's run this code. And as you can see, we got our blank button here. Now, if I press this, the music should play. But before I do that, let's go back to the HTML. And yeah, so in the audio, we want to make sure that when the audio ends, it starts over. So we want it to loop. And all we need to do for that is add loop here. So let's run that. And let's press the button and make sure that the audio plays. And it does. So I hope you guys could hear that. But when I pressed the button, the Pokemon theme music played, and that's what we were looking for. So that's how you're going to add audio to your final project.